So our first group that's going to come up is the prosecution. So our first speaker for the prosecution, go ahead and step up to the podium. You may bring your computer on up. Okay, just a heads up for the jury. This is the prosecution. They are arguing that the narrator is not insane. Therefore, he should be able to face the death penalty. Okay? So they're arguing that he's not crazy, that he's okay to stand trial, and that he can face the death penalty. All right. Go ahead and begin with your Exhibit A.
Okay. So our opening argument is that the narrator is not insane because in the text it says that he dismembered the corpse. He cut off the head and the arms and the legs. And to elaborate, this supports the claim that the narrator was sane because if he dismembered the corpse, then he probably had some knowledge about what he was doing, meaning that he is sane in some form.
Okay, so he has some knowledge of what he's doing. Okay? What is this proof of? That if he knows what he's doing, what is this proof of?
This is proof that he is sane.
Because he's able to do what?
To, like, dismember the corpse.
Okay, and why would he think to dismember the corpse? What's his purpose?
To hide him.
Okay, which would show that he knows
That he killed someone. He knows that he killed someone.
he knows that he killed the old man, and he's hiding it because he doesn't want what?
He doesn't want people to find out.
Doesn't want people to find out. So he's figured out that that if people find this out, he could get what?
He could get arrested.
Could get arrested, get into trouble. Okay. Go ahead and just discuss your illustration here and how that helps explain your case.
Okay.
The illustration is depicting him dismembering the corpse.
Okay. And how does that help us further your case?
It helps further the case, because it gives an illustration that he knows that he's dismembering the corpse. He's literally doing it.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. Our prosecution, go ahead and take a seat. Jury, if you need to take any more notes, you've got a second to do that while I get the defense set up here. All right, defense, go ahead and step up. All right, one more time. This is the defense. They are arguing that the narrator is insane and therefore is incapable of facing the death penalty or receiving or serving trial, doing the trial. So.
The narrator is insane because in the text it says, "Now I say, there came to my ears a low dust click sound such as a watch makes when it's enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum simulates a soldier into courage." I elaborated. It shows the man is not stable because he is hearing the heartbeats, and that is a form of paranoia. Normal people don't hear heartbeating, therefore he is insane.
Okay, so go ahead and discuss your illustration.
The illustration, it shows him like with his paranoia and like how he overthinks the whole thing and like overthinking like the heartbeat and stuff like that.
Okay, so overthinking and hearing a heartbeat. Now, does this heartbeat exist, and how do we know?
No.
Okay, it doesn't exist, okay, but he's still hearing it. How do we know that it doesn't exist?
Because the old man's dead.
Okay, how do we know the old man's dead?
Because it tells us he killed him.
He killed him and did what to him?
Cut him up into pieces.
Cut him up into pieces,
So
okay?
it's like his paranoia, doing it like the heartbeats.
Okay, so it's his paranoia is causing this situation where he's hearing things that don't exist. All right, which would indicate that he's,
What is the paranoia is a symptom of?
A mental illness.
there we go, good
Bingo.
job.
I like the
Excellent.
word paranoia, you're good that you used that, that's really good. It gives a really good visual for that. I think that was really good.
Excellent, all right.
Excellent word choice.
Defense, go ahead and take your seats.
Something from the defense guys?
Jury, you've got some time to take some notes.
Question.
All right. Now, our prosecution is going to return with their counterclaim and their rebuttal. So go ahead and step up to the podium.
Check.
Good evening, all. This prosecution, we claim that the narrator is not insane. But some may say that it was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. We believe this means that he's not insane because, yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there for many minutes. He understands that he may be hearing things, and he's placing on the heart because he understands that what he did was wrong. To elaborate, this supports the claim that the narrator is not insane, because this means that the narrator did hear the old man's heart, because when he killed the beating, he stopped. It stopped. The beating stopped. Therefore, meaning that the narrator is most likely not hearing things. It was maybe possibly just the anxiety the old man was having because he was scared, as many of us have. Also, the narrator checked his pulse. He understood that he killed the man. He was trying to see if it was true, in fact, that he had murdered someone. So we understand this because he is self-aware of the situation.
Excellent use of the term there, self-aware. So he's aware of what has happened. He's doing things that show that he knows that he's done something terrible, and he understands reality because he's able to do what?
He's self-aware.
Okay, but how? He's able to understand reality because he's doing things within the physical space, right? He's actually touching the old man, checking the old man's heart. These are all things that someone who's aware of reality would do, okay? Excellent. All right, go ahead and take your seats. All right, our defense will come up with their counterclaim and rebuttal.
The prosecution claims that the narrator is not insane because, first of all, I dismembered the corpse, I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. Paragraph 12, sentence 3. However, we believe the narrator is insane because the dreadful silence of the old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrolled terror. Elaboration. Therefore, the man was unstable enough to control his actions, and he can't control his thoughts and emotions about the situation.
Okay, so the terror, okay, is caused by what? What is causing his terror?
His paranoia.
Okay, but there's a trigger. What's the thing that's triggering that paranoia? What's he hearing?
The heartbeat.
He's hearing the heartbeat in a empty, in a very quiet house. Okay, where is he standing at this point?
On top of the old man. No? I don't know.
Where's he standing, defense? Remember, he does this every night. He goes to where? Where does he stand?
By the old man's
But not by the old man's bed.
the door.
In the doorway, across the room. So let's make a connection here, okay? He's hearing the heartbeat from across the room. How many of you are nervous right now because we're in front of cameras?
Not really. I mean, I've
Okay,
never.
can you hear anybody's heartbeat in this room?
No.
Okay, so what might that show us about the narrator?
He was nervous.
Well, he's nervous, but think about it. Can he hear a heartbeat all the way across the room?
Yeah.
Can you hear my heartbeat across the room right now?
No.
So is he able, do you think he's actually able to hear the heartbeat of the old man?
No.
So what does that mean? If he's hearing that heartbeat, what is it?
What's the cause of him being able to hear that heartbeat? You said it already.
Paranoia.
And which is
Caused
a
by
Oh, it's a mental.
Mental-
mental illness.
mental illness. So
You
he's
have a
hearing
really
things
good-
that aren't there.
Word where he's saying he's not stable. And
Yes.
he's not stable because he has a mental illness. Stay with that. That's your strongest claim for your defense,
Okay.
your crime.
Excellent. All right, go ahead and
Good word
take
choice too here.
your seat. All right, and then we'll hear our closing arguments in just a moment. All right, this will be our closing argument from our prosecution. Go ahead.
The narrator is not insane because he is talking about, he tells us that you should have seen how widely I proceeded with caution, with foresight. This is adding to the claim that he is aware of his actions while he is executing his crime.
Did you want to add to that, or?
While he's executing his crime, he we are proving that he was aware of his actions while he executed the crime, meaning he was aware of reality and it was planned.
Excellent. So I wanted you to hit right on that. Is that he tells us outright that he did what? He
Aware of his actions.
and he planned. He made a plan. He says right there, I planned to do this. He's saying, you should have seen all of the precautions that I took. So that's clear indication of planning, which could indicate that he is what?
He did it willingly, knowing what he was doing, and he was actually proud of it even after the murder.
Okay, and he's aware of what?
He was committing a crime.
Okay, so he's aware of his actions. He's aware of reality. Okay, and he knows, that he's made this plan to prove how intelligent he is. Okay, all right.
Now you've got the word foresight, and my eighth graders know that when we did civil law. Foreseeable is always a legal standard. The injury or damage foreseeable. So you use a really good quote there with the foresight. So he kind of is showing that he kind of knows.
All right.
What he's doing, right?
And Jen, were you going to go ahead and give us talk about our illustration here?
So the illustration depicts him nervous, and the cause of his nervousness is that he knows what he did. So, like with him dismembering the body and the police coming to question him, he knows he would be arrested. So he's nervous in this debate.
As any sane person would be. If you had done something terrible and the police show up, that might cause some nervousness. Okay, so definitely could be another indication of some self-awareness. Absolutely. All right, excellent. And then we will go ahead and I think you got a question here.
I just want to point out that.
Hold on, do you have a question? Because they'll come up.
I have a question for the.
Okay, so they're going to write it down, and when they come up, you can ask.
Yeah, because we're going to do that at the end.
We'll do
We'll do
like
the
a
questions at the
question.
end.
So write it down so you remember, make a note of yourself. And you can ask your question.
All right, we will have our closing arguments from our defense.
I couldn't bear those hypothetical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now again,
Hard.
louder, 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 louder. Paragraph 7, sentences 19 to 20. I elaborated. This shows Seminole was having a panic attack. He couldn't think right. His mind was all over the place. Therefore, he is insane.
Okay, so you mentioned a panic attack, which could also be an indication of what?
A mental illness.
Mental illness, okay. And what is triggering this? What is triggering this panic attack?
A heartbeat.
The heartbeat. He's hearing this loud heartbeat. And again, is that heartbeat there in the room with him and the police?
No.
Okay. How do you know it's not there with him and the police? Do the police hear it?
No.
No. Okay. So he's again possibly hearing things that don't exist, and which could also indicate that he has
A mental illness.
a mental illness. All right. And go ahead and discuss your illustration here.
The image is
You have to speak up a little bit. We got some background noise going on here, so just be loud.
The image shows, like, okay, first of all, that's what it says here, but it kind of cut off a little bit. Okay, so basically, the image shows the terror of his face because, you know, as he has a mental illness, the mental illness that he has, basically, he can't control his emotions, and he can't control, like, what he's thinking in this, like, in that moment, so he doesn't know what's going on in his head.
Okay, so that inability to control his actions again. He's having this nervous, almost like a nervous breakdown, which again can indicate that that mental illness. All right, fantastic. Go ahead and grab your seats. We're going to bring up the prosecution. All of my prosecutors are going to go ahead and line up here. This is going to be the opportunity for our jury to ask any last-minute questions before they make their deliberations. Okay, so this is just for the prosecution, and then we'll bring the defense up if you have questions with the defense. Go ahead.
I have a question. So you say he was fully aware of what he was doing, but think about it. He was kept on hearing the heartbeat while he was doing it. So that brings the question of and you say it was planned too. So what I'm thinking is that since he has a mental illness, when he did it, he started going in overdrive because he has anxiety about it, which every human does about like once or twice in their day. So that gives me things about.
So is there a way that you could prove that the heartbeat is not necessarily an illness? Is there some way you could show that it's actually something that how could you disprove that as a mental illness?
Actually, we have no proof that this is a mental illness in fact. All we know is that he says disease. So it could be a disorder with the senses, anything to that. And with the heartbeat, technically, it's basically impossible for most people to hear that. So it is very logical that he could be hearing his own heartbeat, but because of the situation, thinking that it's the old man. Because right now he's feeling rage. But he is aware of what's going on around him, of his actions, and is still aware of it after.
Okay, so you're saying it might have just been a misunderstanding of what he was hearing, not necessarily that he was hearing something that didn't exist, but that the sounds he was hearing were within his own ears because it was his own heartbeat.
And it could just be him like scared after doing it, because he did like plan it and everything. But I think after doing it, he could have like understood that what he did was wrong, and now he has to deal with that with that guilt on him. And so I know that a lot of military soldiers go into the army not having any PTSD and come back having multiple forms of PTSD.
Okay, so his experience with the murder could have caused him to have this trauma of what he did, again indicating that he understands what?
His actions.
His actions. All All right, excellent. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you know why he killed an old man?
Oh, he felt rage that honestly could have been prevented if he got help because it. But he was just he was like a bit.
There was, so he had a vulture eye, supposedly, the old man, and he felt like a sort of, I don't know, rage towards the eye for an unknown reason because it's not said. But yeah, he really doesn't like that eye, so he decides that he's going to kill the old man. Well, it's not for the old man, it's the eye that he wanted to kill. But
He was aware that he would have to kill the old man.
yes.
So, and I've got one more question. But most people think even mentally ill people can think things through. Like our cousin can think things through when he's mentally ill. He can think things through.
I am been mentally ill as well, but I can say that that's not it for all mental illnesses. Plus, we don't know if he even has a mental illness. We only know he has a disease, which, like I said, it could be one of the sensory, or he could be comparing himself with his hearing, because he lived with an old man. Elderly people usually don't have that well of hearing and stuff like that.
It could also just be really bad anxiety. Like anybody can have anxiety that isn't mentally ill. It could just be that he's scared and everything. And the text is vague in certain areas where it will be like, oh, it doesn't really describe that much of the narrator or his background info. So we don't know if anything happened to him to cause him to feel that way towards the eye.
All right, excellent. Let's go ahead and bring our defense up. And if we have any questions for our defense.
For the defense, I have just one quick question. So you said he couldn't control himself about what he was doing, but as the prosecution said, he has been planning this for a very long time. I just want to.
So how do you disprove the idea that his planning shows that he understands reality? Because you want to prove that he either doesn't understand reality or he doesn't know right from wrong. How can you kind of disprove that idea of his planning? Well, let me ask you this. How often was he doing this?
Every night.
Every night. And he was doing it the same way every night.
He was opening the door, like slowly and quietly.
Yep, and he would do that every night for 7 nights in a row, the exact same way. Could that indicate something? Like that almost seems like it might be a what?
A habit or like a routine?
Not just a routine, but almost like an obsession maybe? Like maybe he has what?
Mental illness.
A mental illness, maybe some sort of obsessive compulsive type situation because he's able to, he's doing this every night. Does he try to kill the old man every night?
No.
No, okay, so, maybe he didn't necessarily plan it out. This is just a pattern that he's fallen into, and then ultimately he has that moment when he does kill the old man. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You said that he feels scared after he killed the old man, right? Well, they said that they proved that he felt like happy that he killed the old man.
Well,
Yeah, and proud. Yes.
Okay, so happy and proud of killing an old man. Could that indicate mental illness in some way?
yes,
Why?
because it's pleasure of killing a man, which is not really.
That's not what we think of the average person, right? Most of us, if we killed someone, wouldn't be
Yay.
happy and excited about it, so.
Like most people would be nervous, like they would like have so many thoughts in their head. Oh my God, I just killed somebody. And this man, he has a whole different like thoughts and stuff.
Okay, so which don't seem to fit with the natural way people, react to situations, which could indicate what? There you go. All right. All right. Go ahead and take a seat, and we're going to give our jury a few minutes to deliberate and bring us back a verdict.
It wasn't the I, it wasn't the person before. I
Our jury. So if our defense and our prosecution would stand up. And we will await the jury's verdict.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead. Is the foreperson?
Hello. The jury's verdict is, we believe that he is insane. And what?
And what was it? Can you tell us the vote total?
The vote total was 3-0.
We all three agree.
And,
We got a unanimous decision.
It was because he couldn't control himself during the murder.
They felt like the description of his actions was he couldn't control it. And then, Stephen, you had another.
Yes, I think because he's happy about it and proud. Like a normal person who was saying wouldn't, be happy about it at all.
And Jayla, what were you gonna add?
That he could hear his heartbeat, and then from across the room, he can't usually do that.
Yeah, but she definitely thought if he was able to still hear things, hearing things in his head, that he obviously has a mental illness and isn't able to stand trial at the time and should get some help. That's what she said, yeah.
All right, excellent. Go ahead and give our jury a nice round of applause. Give our lawyers a nice round of applause. Fantastic. Go ahead and move back to the gallery. We're gonna have group. All right. So we'll go ahead and begin with our prosecution with our opening arguments. Go ahead and step on up. Go ahead and begin whenever you are ready.
For the first point, or evidence that we use for that he's not insane, we put, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever from paragraph 2, sentence 11. And you should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, and what dissimulation. I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. Those are proving that he knows what he's doing. He's proud of, not proud, but he's I don't know.
You can say proud. I mean, he can be proud. He's doing something that he believes is right. Okay.
He had a sense on what he was doing, and he was he knew he was trying to get rid of the eye, so he killed the old man. So he was again, he knew what he was doing, and he was proud of it, I guess. I don't
Okay,
know.
so his plan was to get rid of what?
The old man's eye.
The old man's eye, and he formulated a what to do that?
A plan?
Yeah, he's formulated a plan to kill the old man. So he thought it out. He moved on with his actions and committed it, and then committed the crime. Okay, so he took all these different steps to doing this, which would show that he understands what?
That he's
Does he understand reality? Does he know?
Yeah.
Does he know right from wrong?
He admits he did it wrong in paragraph 18, sentence 1.
Okay, so he admits that what he did was wrong, so he understands right and wrong, right? Okay, so we've got proof of both understanding reality because of making the plan, and proof that he knows what he did was wrong because of what he says, correct? Okay, and then you want to go ahead and talk about our illustration?
We made an illustration of him peeking out from the door when he was watching the old man at night.
Okay, so how does that better prove your point?
It's
What does this show him doing?
Shows him watching the old man, like,
Which is all part of his.
plan from night to night, like,
Yep.
before he's killing him.
All right, excellent. All right, go ahead and take your seat. Jury, if you want to take a couple seconds to write down any notes that you had from that. All right, our defense will go ahead and step up and do their first exhibit. Exhibit A, their opening argument. You're going to have to speak up just a little bit more, kiddo.
Exhibit A is our opening argument. The narrative is insane because in the text it states, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was his eye. It states this in paragraph 2, sentences 2 to 7. To elaborate on this, the narrator wants to kill the old man even though the man has never wronged or insulted him. The narrator does not want anything from the old man. He only killed him for the sole reason that he had a blind eye over blue film, with the blue film over it, and not any other reason. He even said he loved the old guy, which shows he may have paranoia or other mental illnesses.
Okay, so it shows that he has a paranoia or some mental illness. Okay, so that's excellent. You pointed out the possibility of a mental illness or a paranoia. Because why? Because what indicates that paranoia?
He loved the old man, but his paranoia led him to kill him.
Okay.
And his eye, he was going crazy over his eye.
So you've got this mental illness that overrides the fact that he loves the old man, so it pushes him, even though he has love for him, pushes him over the edge to commit this crime, okay? You want to go ahead and discuss your illustration to help us out to understand what's going on here?
Our illustration shows that the red dots are his paranoia and mental illnesses, and the green dots are like his same thoughts where he loves the old man and stuff. But you can see that he has more red dots, which is paranoia and other mental illnesses, which overrides the green one, which led him to commit the murder.
All right, that's an excellent representation, okay? That you actually have more of the paranoia and more of the mental illness overwhelming the same part of his understanding. All right, excellent, good job. Go ahead and take a seat. Now we will hear the rebuttal from Group 2, our prosecution.
The defense said he was not.
You have to speak up, kiddo.
Okay, so it says that he's insane because there was no reason to kill the old man because he only wanted to kill him because of his eye. This is paragraph 2, sentences 4 through 7. He's not insane because his eye would. He said that his eye would trouble me no more. From paragraph 11, sentence 29. The elaboration says the narrator is not insane because he had a plan to kill the old man. He knew what he was doing. He also wanted to get rid of the eye because it caused him disturbance.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more of how that shows that how does it prove that he understands reality, or how does it prove that he knows the difference between right and wrong?
Okay, so basically, since he wanted to kill him because the eye was disturbing him, he knew that what he was doing was what he wanted. So basically, he really knew, he was really in tune with what he was doing because he really took it really seriously because of the caution that he had when he was killing him. So, he killed him, so, I guess that's wrong, but he, admitted that he did it.
Okay.
So, which means that he knew that what he was doing was wrong.
Okay, so he does something terrible, but admits to doing it. He has a plan. He has some sort of motivation. And then the thing that's bothering him, he makes a plan to do what?
To kill him.
To get rid of it, right? Okay, killing him is the ultimate way to get rid of him, but again, shows that possibility of him understanding what?
What he was doing.
Okay, understands what he's doing, understands reality and what's happening, okay? Knowing that killing the old man would get rid of the thing that's bothering him could show that he understands, the reality of the situation. All right, excellent. We'll go ahead and hear the counterclaim and rebuttal from the defense.
The prosecution claims that the narrator is not insane because in paragraph 2, sentence 11, they stated that the narrator is not insane because evidence shows that something was bothering him, so he did something about it. However, we believe the narrator is insane because yes, the eye was obviously bothering him, but it was the eye of somebody that he said he loved, and the paranoia pushed him so far to have it bother him so much that it made his blood run cold. And he finally made up his mind to murder the old man in paragraph 2, sentence 10. To elaborate on this, he could not have just merely been bothered by something to go so far as murdering a man just to kill his evil eye. Just for the fact that he was unsettled by something, he had to have been mad to murder the man to get rid of the eye that had haunted him.
Okay, so you're stating that he probably should have reacted differently, and that the way he reacted indicates what?
Well, the way that he reacted indicates that he may have not understood reality, and so he believes that this, just because the old man's eye was blind or had the blue film over it, that it was an evil eye, and he even said that it haunted him. And somebody who understood reality wouldn't have felt that way, because we all know that in reality it's not possible for somebody's eye to be quote-unquote evil, as he states. And to legally prove that somebody is insane or mad, you only need one of the two requirements, which is to understand right from wrong and to understand reality. And he obviously does not understand reality, even though he may understand what's right from wrong.
Okay, so understanding that his reaction is above and beyond what a normal person might do. So this could be indication of a mental illness, showing that he's believing that something is evil just based on a physical deformity of someone else. Okay. Excellent. All right. We'll go ahead and we'll move to the prosecution. And we'll be doing the closing arguments for the prosecution.
I smiled daily to see the deed so far done, but for many minutes a heartbeat with a muffled sound over this, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through a wall. So I think that when the police were there, I think he was so nervous that he was hearing his own heartbeat instead of the old man's.
Okay, so, and go ahead and read your elaboration here too.
He wasn't worried about the sound of the heart because he gotten rid of it. He was hearing things because no one could actually hear a heartbeat through a wall, but he was aware of the heartbeat going away, which shows he knew what he was doing.
Okay, so you're saying that the heartbeat was in his own ears, so it's not that he is hearing something, right? Is it coming from his brain or is it coming from his physical body?
His physical body, like when, say you're running or something, and when you stop, sometimes you can feel your heartbeat. So maybe that's what was happening because you can't hear a heartbeat.
So maybe this was a misunderstanding. He's assuming that he's hearing the old man's heartbeat, but it's just a misunderstanding of the way his body works. He's actually hearing his own. So it's not an indication of mental illness, just a misunderstanding of anatomy and the way the body works.
Because he's so nervous.
Because he's so nervous. Okay, excellent. All right, go ahead and tell us about your illustration. How does that help us?
Because like he wants to get rid of the heartbeat, or because well, after he killed the man, when he's hearing the heartbeat, he doesn't want to hear it, and he gets super nervous and,
Which increases what?
yeah, which increases his heartbeat.
Which increases his heartbeat, which makes him hear it more. Okay, excellent. All right, go ahead and take a seat. And we will hear the closing arguments from our defense.
Our closing arguments. The narrator is the same because New Testament states, "Now I say, there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton." I knew that sound well too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It states this in paragraph 10, sentence 2-4.
To elaborate on this, the evidence supports the claim that he had already killed the old man and put all of his body parts under the floorboard. But in his head, he could still hear the old man's heart because he was hallucinating that he could still hear the heartbeat out of paranoia or other mental illness. And as they said, he may have just been hearing his own heartbeat, but a sane person would not have just assumed that it was somebody who he had chopped up and put under the floorboards, a dead person. He would not have assumed that it was the dead person's heartbeat. They would have either thought they were hearing things or thought it was their own. But the fact that he was so dominant that it was the old man's heartbeat and didn't even have a thought that he was hearing things or that it was his own heartbeat, and it ultimately made him confess to the police.
Okay, so even if he was actually hearing a heartbeat that was his own, you're saying that he's not sane enough to make the right conclusion that it's his own, rather than the heartbeat of someone who is dead. He can't seem to, connect that reality to the old man being dead. Okay, and go ahead and give us an explanation of your illustration here.
In the illustration, it shows the corpse being under the floorboard and the police interrogating the narrator. The narrator purposefully put his chair over the corpse because he knew it was there, and he didn't want to seem suspicious. But as he was talking to the police, he started to get more and more worried and paranoid. And he was screaming to himself that he could still hear it, and he could even describe it as a watch enveloped in cotton.
Okay, and again, if you got him here with the police, and he thinks that there's a heart beating, but how are the police acting in this situation?
The police they're calm and they're asking him questions, so they're not overreacting. And the narrator is just sitting there, and he's making it a big deal to himself that the police are on to him, the police can hear it. Because he thinks the police can also hear it, but it's obvious that the police can't because the police are calm, they're not overreacting, they're just asking him normal questions because somebody called the police on him. And in the beginning, he was calm, but as he started to hear the heartbeat, he started to get more and more worried, and the police were just sitting there, and they weren't reacting to it, and he just ultimately confessed.
So he's in a room with a bunch of people who are not reacting to some sound that he believes he's hearing. So does that make a connection to him understanding or not understanding reality?
Well, the fact that he can see that the police are calm, but he still is very paranoid and thinks that the police can hear the heartbeat, it also shows that he can't comprehend social cues or facial expressions
Excellent.
of the police, because he can see that they're calm and that they're not reacting to the heartbeat that he so hears, but he still thinks that the police can hear it, which is why he confesses.
Okay, so would indicate that he might have some sort of mental illness or a disconnect between reality. Excellent. All right, go ahead and take your seat. Now, we're going to go ahead and open this up to questions from the jury. So our prosecution, go ahead and line up right up here at the front. Jury, this is going to be your opportunity to ask any last-second questions before you move to your deliberation. This is for the prosecution only. I'll bring the defense up here in just a second. You don't have any questions? Do you have any questions for the defense? No? Okay, well then I guess.
Okay. So that's fine. Okay. Are they ready to go or?
Yeah, they can go ahead and move to deliberation if they don't have any questions.
No questions?
All right, you guys can take your seat and we'll wait for our results. Yes. Our high five. High five. All right, our prosecution and our defense all rise for our jury.
Hey, can you remember how to do it? Need a jury one, okay. You don't have to, you have to say it, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead.
We, the jury, find the narrator sane of his actions and guilty.
No, not guilty.
Bruh.
So you can't stand trial.
And can't stand trial.
Tell us the vote count.
It was 2-1.
Okay, so 2-1. So go ahead and tell us.
So we did have it the vote the other way, but Jay was able with his argument to persuade Jayla to change her mind. And that happens in a jury room. So Jay, go ahead, you lead with your argument because yours was the most persuasive in the jury deliberation room.
They said that a normal person would like not be happy about like murdering somebody, right? So that'll make him insane. But technically, he got rid of something that he didn't like. So that would make him feel a sense of joy to be able to murder him because he got rid of it.
Okay, excellent. That's a very strong argument.
Can you want to tell us why you felt that he should be found insane? Go ahead.
Because just because he got something that he didn't like, the fact that you're not even focusing, like if we're going with what you said, the fact that you're not even focusing on the point that you just killed someone is one major red flag because you just killed someone. But like, if you're just happy about removing the eye that you don't like, that's obviously something like wrong.
Excellent. All right, good. Some great arguments. All right, let's go ahead and give our jury a nice round of applause. Give our lawyers a nice round of applause. We did. And we'll go ahead and the last two groups will move up. All right. So we'll go ahead and start with our prosecution. Our first person from the prosecution will step up. Again, jury, just remember to ignore all the other cases that you've seen today. This is a brand new case. Just base it on the evidence that you get from our lawyers. Go ahead and begin.
So, we're trying to prove that this man is not insane. And he's saying that whenever it fell upon him, his blood ran cold, and so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. And this shows that he was in control of his actions, planning out his crime for his own good. Although his motivations may be odd, he had full control of what he was doing, and he could have stopped if he wanted to.
All right, and go ahead and discuss your illustration.
The illustration represents how, like, he knows that he hid the body and that, like, he knows that they can't find out.
Okay, and so that shows that he is made a what?
A decision to hide the body.
Which is also called a plan.
Plan.
Okay, so he's made this plan to evade the police by doing what?
Hiding the body.
Hiding the body. Okay, so he's realized that he could get in trouble, and so that shows that he has an understanding of what?
Like reality.
Reality and right and
Wrong.
right and wrong, because he knows what he did was wrong, and obviously if he's trying to hide it. Okay, all right, good. Go ahead and grab a seat. All right, we'll go ahead and bring up our defense.
So, the narrator is insane because in paragraph 17, sentence 15, they heard, they suspected, they knew they were making a mockery of my voice. This means that the narrator was imagining or thinking that the cops were mocking him, and laughing at him. As he sat there hearing the old man's heartbeat, which proved for paranoia because in a realistic situation, the cops would be concerned and worried for the area.
Okay, just gotta describe your illustration here.
The illustration is the scenario that the narrator had described with the cops teasing and laughing at him as if they knew that he had killed the old man, but that is not the realistic situation that would actually happen.
Okay, so the narrator believes that the police are playing some sort of elaborate joke, which would indicate what? That
he's like paranoid and stuff.
Okay, so paranoia, which would indicate that he has a
Mental
illness, okay? Because does the scenario actually play out that way? Are they laughing at him?
No.
No, okay, so he's kind of experiencing things in a different reality than everyone else. Excellent, go ahead and grab a seat. We'll move to our prosecution, our counterclaim and rebuttal.
The prosecution claims the narrator is insane because the disease has sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. However, we believe the narrator is not insane because after he killed the old man, he washed the blood in the tub, cut his body up, and put his body under the floorboards, and sat in a chair over the corpse. This also shows how he was mentally aware. He did not say the disease that he had, so he wouldn't know how it would affect his way of thinking or if it was a mental or physical disease. There are a lot of different diseases, and just because you have one doesn't mean you are insane.
Okay, so that's an excellent argument that we haven't heard, is that there are lots of illnesses that someone could have that don't all indicate necessarily that the person is mentally unstable or insane. Excellent. And he does all of these steps. He's got all these steps that he follows, which would indicate that he has a what?
You said what?
He's got all these steps that he's following.
He has a plan.
He's got a plan, which would indicate he understands what?
What he's doing.
Understands what he's doing, which shows that he understands
Reality and right and wrongs.
Okay, excellent. All right, go ahead and take a seat. That'll bring us to our counterclaim and rebuttal from the defense.
The prosecution claims the narrator is not insane because the narrator says, "Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever." However, we believe the narrator is insane because he says, "And I did this for 7 long nights, every night just at midnight, but I found the eye always closed, so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye." His plan wasn't going as planned because the evil eye was an unrealistic fear that made him overthink what his reality was. The point is that it is unnecessary to kill someone with a somewhat creepy feature.
Okay, so you're focusing on his obsession with the eye, okay? And let's look back at what was happening in the scene, okay? He was doing this for how many nights in a row?
Technically 8.
Okay, so on the 8th night, he kills the old man. What was different about the 8th night?
He ended up waking up the old man, so his eye ended up open, which caused him to end up murdering him.
Okay, so even though he's doing this every night, does he murder the man every night?
No.
No. Okay, so he's got this repetitive pattern that he's following.
And on the 8th night, it was ruined, so he then killed him.
Okay, so and what drove him to do that?
Because his anxiety of the eye makes him overthink and makes him hear things, and he wanted to get rid of it, so.
Okay, so that moment of intense fear or anguish or or paranoia, because the eye is open, he's able to see it, which then causes him to react in a way that most people probably wouldn't. Okay, excellent. All right. That'll bring us to the counterclaim and rebuttal from the prosecution. Or did we already do that?
We already did that. We're on the closing argument.
Closing arguments.
We say the narrator is not insane because, based on the text, it is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once it's convinced, it haunted me day and night. Object there's none, passion there's none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me an insult. For his gold, I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. From paragraph 2, sentence 1, 2 seconds. This shows that he had motivations to kill the man for his own gain, not because of money or riches, because how annoyed he was. And with all these reasons added up, he had a plan, he had a reason, he had a motivation. We could say that he knew what he was doing, and you could see how he felt guilty about it, how he confessed to the police. So I think it would be logical to say that he had everything in his brain working and he's not insane.
Okay, and you said he feels guilty, which shows that he understands what?
That he was wrong.
That he was wrong, so he understands right and wrong, and then he's got a plan, which shows that he understands
How things work.
Right, reality. Okay, so he understands the way things work. So he's kind of meeting both of those criteria needed to show that he is
Insane. No, not insane.
not insane. It's showing that he's sane. Okay, good. All right. And that'll bring us to the closing arguments from our defense.
To conclude, the narrator is insane because in paragraph 11, sentence 7, the narrator says that the old man's heart grew quicker and quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. To elaborate, the narrator had been mistaken for the loud thumping of the heart to be the old man's, but in reality was the narrator's heart that grew louder from fear.
Okay, and how does that show that he doesn't understand reality?
He's again overthinking from all this fear that he has from the eye, and he's turning that fear into a mistake for somebody else's heart, because like we said earlier, you can't hear somebody's heart from across the room.
Okay.
It's almost impossible. So it must have been his heart because of how nervous and scared he was.
Okay, so it's kind of a jump to thinking that you're hearing someone else's heartbeat across the room. An average person who was in control of their mental state probably would think what?
Would think that they are getting nervous theirself, and they would put their hand on their heart and feel their pulse before assuming that it's their victim.
Their victim across the room. Okay, excellent. All right, and go ahead and tell us a little bit about your image here.
So the image is what was described in the text as the old man's beating heart, but it was just the narrator thinking and imagining that it was the old man's heart. Instead, it could have been mistaken for his own.
All right, excellent. All right, go ahead and take a seat. We'll now move to the last moment questions we'll go ahead and have our prosecution step up here. Everybody line up here. This would be your last opportunity before your deliberations to ask any questions that you need to get clarification on from our prosecution. Our defense will come up next, so just focus your questions on just the prosecution.
You got a question?
I got a question, yeah.
Go ahead, Christian.
All right, so when you said that by using logic, how can you lose logic with the man who just killed somebody? Obviously, he couldn't be in the right state of mind to use logic.
Well, maybe you could say that, but logically, if you're supposed to kill someone, you'd have to have a logic way of going about it without being caught. How he hid the floorboards, how he waited until it was the right moment, so then he could look for his own gain. And although maybe you can argue that the reason he killed him wasn't logical, the way he executed it was.
And you wouldn't just kill someone for your personal gain. It had to be for a reason, which was the way his eye looked.
I'm gonna add what Christian said. So during the seven nights, he was fine because he was just watching over, and the eye was always closed. And then when the 8th night came over, it was open because he accidentally woke the old man. That prevented him. So his mental illness provoked him to kill the old man. So it would be technically saying that he wasn't in the right mind when he killed the man.
Well, we don't know that he has a mental illness. We're assuming it based on his patterns. Because it just says he has a disease, and like we said, he didn't really say which one. It could be mental, it could be physical, because diseases, they come in like different shapes and forms. So assuming that he does have a mental illness, you could still be saying and do that, because he had logic, he knew what he was doing, sorry, and he knew what was going on.
And he didn't want to kill him on that night. He didn't plan to, but it just happened after he woke him up. So he put the mattress over him and, killed him.
So you're
Are you sure? Wait a minute, you just underrun your face.
Yeah.
Don't do that, because you're going all over premeditation, that it was a planned thing.
Oops.
Right, so be careful.
So are you saying that if he was mentally ill, say he had a mental illness, he would be incapable of using logic and doing what he did?
I am not saying that, because like with a mental illness, you could still do it. We're assuming that he has a mental illness, but that still, like I said before, that doesn't mean you're sane. Maybe if he had like a really bad one, he'd be going crazy, and maybe he'd be second guessing himself. We don't really know that though, so.
All right.
Look the other way, so listen.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and just grab a seat, and we'll bring our defense up. All right, and any questions for our defense?
I got a question. So you said that he was hearing his heart, but he thought it was the man's heart. But how would he know that he's hearing his heart? Was there any text evidence that said he was hearing his heart, or is that just an assumption?
No, he had been mistaken and assumed that the beating heart was the old man's. He never ever said in the text about his heart.
So
And if it
The only
was-
heart he talked about was the old man's.
So if he never said that it was his heart beating that he heard, how do you know?
Well, it was assumed that it was his heart, or
Because-
he could have been imagining the heart from
Because-
like a mental illness. But it's most likely from anxiety and like paranoia that he was hearing his own heart and mistaking it for the old man.
So they're making an inference, but they want you to make. Right? That's what they're doing. Any other questions? My group?
All right. Well, then we'll move to deliberation. Go ahead and take a seat.
Go ahead, you okay?
It's just freezing.
It hasn't been too cold, you all have this on. What's the light?
Mr. Cousin, he's presented
All right, all rise for our jury. Go ahead and stand up for our jury.
All right. Our designated juror, go ahead.
Well, I guess read was like down here.
Are you ready? Huh? What is your question? Oh, do you want to ask something? Oh, your name is Go ahead.
All right, we the jury. We find the defendant insane.
Therefore, you cannot face the death penalty or stand trial at this
Not stand
time.
trial, doesn't matter. And do you want to tell them what your vote count was?
Oh yeah, it was 3-0.
3-0.
Unanimous. All right. Excellent. Let's give our jury another round of applause. Give Mr. Miles a nice round of applause for maintaining the time. Give Ms. Wells a nice round of applause for the And also, we would like to say thank you very much. We apologize for messing up your lunch, but we really do appreciate you accommodating us. Thank you all.